Stress with Self-Guided Energy Practices. Interview with Lissa Erickson. Do you feel stressed or overwhelmed due to past trauma or the stage of life you're going through? Especially if you're a woman, you may find your energy being stuck because of those things. Would you like to learn some energy practices that you could do on your own so you can allow the energy to flow smoothly through your body? Our guest today, Lissa Erickson, will share her personal story of how she went from through crisis and using energy practices helped herself and now helping a lot of her clients overcome stress, heal from trauma, and function at their best. You can also do that. You are watching Happy and Healthy Mind program, episode 111. So 111. Good job. Thank you for following us. Our guest today is Lissa Erickson. Thank you, Lissa, for joining us today.
Thank you, Dr. Rozina. I'm really glad to be here.
Lissa is an energy worker and meditation teacher specializing in women's energetics and sexual trauma healing. She's the author of Chakra Empowerment for Women, published by Llewellyn Worldwide. Lissa is certified in mindfulness meditation instruction and trauma sensitivity and has trained in a variety of energy healing and somatic modalities. She's a member of the Breathe Network, a nonprofit supporting trauma informed holistic healing for sexual trauma survivors. And I'm your host, Dr. Rosina Lakani. I help compassionate high achievers achieve more, earn more, and make the impact they're meant to make without burnout and without losing their health or career. I'm an executive coach, a corporate speaker, and an integrative psychiatrist. If you are joining us live, you can put the questions in the chat and we'll try to answer as best as we can. So before we jump into a topic, Lissa, can you share how did this topic become important in your life? What was happening in your life before you started applying some of the tools you're going to teach us today?
Yeah. Well, over 30 years ago now, I was actually just out of college and working in New York City within the technical field. I started out in computer science,
All
believe it or
right.
not, long ago. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I liked what I was doing, but I began experiencing intense stomach aches
Hmm.
and headaches at different times. And I went through the doctors and they just really couldn't find anything wrong. And at that point, eventually, I had one say to me, "This is possibly stress induced. You should consider a yoga or meditation class or something like that," which was pretty unusual at the time. Now I live in California and there's a yoga studio every block, it seems like. But, 30 years ago, it wasn't that common. And I was lucky to find a good meditation class. There's a lot of different types of meditation. What I happened to find was a chakra meditation class. And the chakras are energy centers that come from different spiritual and energy medicine traditions. And I had a lot of interesting experiences, but most importantly, after a period of time, the stomach aches and headaches did dissipate. So it was very powerful practice for me. And over time, then that made me curious about what had actually occurred, why this helped. And that started this other learning path that eventually resulted in a shift in career many years later.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So before we jump into the techniques, how is life different?
How is life different after that and now? Yeah.
Yeah, after you applied these tools, what changed?
I
You,
became
you told me
less,
that your stomach
yeah.
ache got better, but yeah.
Why? Exactly. That's a great question, right?
Or in before why like but what changes do you see evident in your life?
I became less reactive. That is partially what any kind of meditation is training for, to create some distance between the thought, emotions, even physical response that you might instinctually or habitually have when something happens that feels threatening or anxiety producing in some way. And chakra or energy center meditation in particular also helps you bring forward another feeling. You can learn to actually cultivate the feeling of calm in your body. And it takes practice, but once you do, you can begin to bring that into life situations. And so it creates space between whatever's happening around you that starts to get your nervous system revved up. You shorten your breathing, all of those things that happen under stress. This can help reverse that stress response and induce the relaxation response.
So you became less reactive. What other
Mhm.
changes have you noticed?
Over time, more grounded in my body. I think often what happens with stress and anxiety, we really rise up, we tense up. We talk about tense
Right.
shoulders, right? All of this stuff. From an energy body perspective, our energy rises up. Often we start spinning in our mind. In terms of energy body practices, it means we're sort of off our foundation. Our energy body is built like a house. We need a strong foundation. So, learning how to bring your energy down and really ground in your body is really important. What's really happening is you're settling your nervous system, you're helping
Mhm.
your nervous system to anchor.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that's really becoming more embodied, more aware of my body. And that has a whole bunch of other health benefits, right? Because
Yeah.
when you're tuned into your body, you catch things early, you notice what's going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I come from a medical background,
Hmm.
being a psychiatrist. I did not learn about, energy sciences in my school or in my residency. Although now I'm an integrative psychiatrist, so I utilize all the tools that are available to help people heal better, faster. And so for people who may not know what this energy body is, or I talk about mindfulness, and you also mentioned mindfulness. So it would really help us to know what this energy body is.
Hmm.
And when you're talking about grounding the energy body, how is it related to the mindfulness that people know about?
Yeah, yeah. Well, energy body teachings really come from two different traditions. There's spiritual traditions, and yoga is actually a part of that to some extent, although yoga has kind of it's taught in the West very separate from that.
Right.
They also and then they come through energy medicine traditions. And chakra, which a lot of people may have heard that word, which are energy centers in the body, that's specifically a Sanskrit word. So it comes from ancient India. However, there really have been energy body mappings that have come to us from all over the world and all different cultures. And I think what's fascinating is how similar they are, right? And I think in all of them, the energy body is really presented, it's kind of this interface between our physical body and our psyche and our spirit, if you believe in that, right? And at the physical body level, the different energy centers or chakras correspond to different physical symptoms, right? So they correspond and different glands too. Those are considered the two links. Each chakra links to a primary gland in our body.
So
Yeah.
before you go into the detail, you just said it's a level in between your body and your psyche.
Yeah.
So can you explain that a little bit? So like we talk about body, which is
Hmm.
physical, which is evident. And of course, I'm a psychiatrist, so I treat mind,
Yes.
which is not visible, but I describe it as the software that runs the hardware of the body and mind. And so, where does this energy body fit in that
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding?
So it's really like in between those two. And if you think about how we experience either our body or our mind, right? Emotions often are the link in terms of we really do experience emotions physically, somatically in our body once you
Hmm.
start tuning into it. And there's an energy to them, like anger. If you were to describe that, it's this intensity. Maybe you think of it as red, versus calm, right? Maybe you think of that as, pink or light blue or like that, and you feel it in your body in different places in your body. I mean, for me, literally, I felt stress in my stomach as
Hmm.
a pain, right? And it's the same with the thoughts that we have, etc., when we're working with our emotional body. So our energy body is really linked into our emotions, and they help us really start to notice vibrationally how we feel things in our body and also the patterns that we have at the thought level, right? That may be habitual, our habitual reactions to certain kinds of situations, which we work with psychologically, right? In talk therapy and things like that. Sort of the energetic underpinnings of that, what happens in our energy body and our body. So when you're working with your energy body, when you're focusing there, you can benefit both physically and psychologically. It's to me, it's kind of the center of working holistically For people who resonate with it. Some people don't, right? I'm one who believes like not every method is for everybody. You need to find what works for you. Many of my trauma clients are in talk therapy. They may also be in psychiatric medication in addition to utilizing these tools. And some are not. So that's really up to them.
All right. So what I'm understanding is that it's that vibration, that
Mm-hmm.
energy that either communicates the thought effect on the body or body's
Mm-hmm.
effect on the thought. And I think all of us kind of feel that at different
Mm-hmm.
times, but it's not kind of very clear in our culture
Mm-hmm.
understanding of what energy body is and how it works. So enlighten us, teach us some tools that may help us get better faster, especially when it comes to stress and overwhelm, day-to-day stressors, as well as stress because of some past trauma that may be stuck in our body.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about there's a lot of different mappings of the energy body, and I'm going to talk about the one that has become maybe the most well known, the chakra mapping, the one that if you go to yoga, you may see a picture of it on the wall and all of that. That is based on the model of 7 primary energy centers that parallel the spine, kind of from our tailbone all the way up the center of our body to the crown of our head. And
Okay.
each of those 7 centers corresponds to different physical systems in our body, a
Okay.
gland, and different psychological or emotional states. So I think the one I'll start with is the root chakra, the first chakra, because it is very relevant to stress management. Physically, it corresponds to our tailbone. It's the base of our body. And of course, such an important part of our body. Foundation, our nervous system, our structural system. The gland that it corresponds to is the adrenals, right? So highly activated when we are feeling stress or anxiety.
Adrenal gland is the gland of attention when we work on, stress, anxiety, depression, because adrenal gland produces the cortisol in response to stress.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the stress is really high for a long period of time, the cortisol level starts kind of malfunctioning. Either it is too high at night when we want to sleep, or it's too low in the morning when we want to have energy. And so that's when we call adrenal fatigue. And so the adrenal gland is
Mm-hmm.
the focus of attention when we are working with the stress and burnout and secondary anxiety, depression. That is interesting. So you are saying that the first chakra
Mm-hmm.
is kind of the bottommost chakra, tailbone chakra, on which I think I'm sitting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when we work on that chakra, we can improve our adrenal glands.
Yes, we can achieve. Well, depends what's going on. So for some people, it might be adrenal under, like chronic fatigue syndrome is something that I see a lot. It's often corresponds to past trauma, or if there is habitual stress, it's adrenal, overdrive, hyperactive. Either way, working with the root chakra can help to bring balance. And from the
Mhm.
perspective of like, if we were to take a snapshot of your energy body when you're under stress, most people they rise up, their energy rises up here and they're kind of off their foundation. So if you think of a tree, the model really for a balanced chakra system is a tree that has deep roots and
Mhm.
then also has big branches. If you have big branches, mean you're up here, you have a lot going on, your mind's very busy, could be very powerful, in fact, your mind, right? But you don't have the corresponding depth of root structure. If a wind comes through, you're falling over, right? That's
Right.
essentially what's happening with stress. So the root chakra is about building that energetic foundation and really bringing your energy down, your attention in your body, your actual focus down into your body, all the way to the base of your body. And then there's different visuals that we might do there and breathing techniques to correspond with either soothing that part of your body or stimulating it in the case of fatigue, or affirmations. I work a lot with affirmations. So just focusing on that part of the body, visualizing light there, and doing visualizations like I am safe in this moment, right? I am anchored in my body in this moment. Practicing those, and you can create a kind of snapshot memory. If you practice that just as a mini mindfulness meditation for a few minutes a day in a safe space, you can get to a place eventually where during the day, if you notice you're rising up, you're becoming stressed, you can say that affirmation or even just focus on your tailbone, and you'll have an energetic memory in a way that helps begin to settle you back down.
All right. So let's see. Taking me as an example, I'm
Mhm.
going the morning to evening, seeing patients back and forth, or seeing patients one after the other, not even back and
Mhm.
forth, just one after the other. And if I start feeling that my body is getting tense, how do
Mhm.
I do this meditation? How do I just, I should sit down in a corner and
Mhm.
focus on
Well,
breathing, or
mhm.
walk me through, make
Yeah.
so that I can do it when I really need it.
Yeah. Ideally, initially, you're practicing it outside of your day for a
Okay.
few minutes. So let's say that you've been doing that. So then that
So like
practice,
what would walk me through, what should I do? So let's say morning is my meditation
yeah,
time or my reflection time.
yeah.
What should I do to incorporate this meditation within my routine? Walk
Yeah.
me.
So you want me to guide you right now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can settle for a moment and feel the base of your body. So feel your sit bones,
Hmm.
perhaps your tailbone on your cushion.
Hmm.
You can close your eyes or just lower them, whatever helps you feel as if you're coming into your body. And then gradually bring your focus down. Imagine it's moving from your brain down through your chest, through your stomach, all the way down to your tailbone. And visualize here a gentle white light that is activating this connection between your energy body and your physical. And I'm just going to have you do some affirmations, which you can do out loud or not. That's up to you.
Yeah,
Since we will do this a little quicker than obviously,
yeah.
you'd spend some time there pulling your mind back every time it wanders back down to your tailbone, taking a breath, and just affirm in this moment, I am safe.
I'm safe.
I am present in my body.
I'm present in my body.
I am centered in my wisdom.
I'm centered in my wisdom.
I am present.
I'm present.
I am calm.
I'm calm.
And each time, just really bring your awareness down to your root chakra. And I recommend doing this at least 5 minutes or so at first, once a day, right? And then imagining that that light is then spreading throughout your body. And then you sort of take a memory of this, right?
Okay.
And that memory is what you're going to use on the spot. Maybe you just have 10 seconds between your clients. Maybe you get to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Whatever you've got, you take a breath, you flash on that light on your tailbone, you pick one of the affirmations, and your memory will allow you to shift faster. So maybe initially you don't feel relaxed at all when you do the meditation, right? Eventually you do, but it takes 10 minutes. Then it takes 2 minutes. And eventually you get to the place where you are able to shift your energy downward as soon as you notice it. I'm not going to pretend that that happens overnight, but it does happen with practice. Like anything else, you can retrain your mind and body.
Hmm. Hmm. That is very interesting. So some of the pictures that I've seen, of the chakras, they kind of going circles.
Mm.
So are you suggesting that we focus on just that one tip of the tailbone, or are you focusing on like this whole circle going around when
For
I'm?
this, I was keeping it simple and just visualizing light there. There are other types of meditations where you focus more on the movement, either the upward flow or circle within the chakra. A lot of those actually have to do more with the spiritual practices
Okay.
than with the energy medicine practices, which are more about activating the connection to the body. With the root chakra, other ones that I sometimes do is imagining the earth is emanating up kind of a protective bowl that you're sitting in. Now,
Mm.
that takes a little bit more time to build up that visual, but it gives you more of that sense of really anchoring and that you're feeling protected. In terms of the elements, the chakras are also each linked to the elements. The first chakra at that tailbone is linked to earth, the earth element, and our physical body, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are made of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wonderful. So your major tool that we are learning today is to doing this meditation in our morning time or evening time, whatever our reflection time is. Is there a specific time you recommend or any time of the day?
Yeah, I do think for most people, it's most effective to build it into your morning routine. But I always say it's better to do it than not. So if it's going
And
to be in your car during your lunch break or, then fine, whatever is realistic for your life.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. So that is one tool. Any other tool we can practice?
Yeah. A couple more that come to mind when you mentioned your own day, right? Where you're moving between clients, sort of similar to mine. Sometimes we need to sort of clear out. It's like let go of the last moment, come into the present. Also, the idea of boundaries. And both boundaries and sort of moving forward are linked to the navel center. So the center that is linked to our physical navel or just below it. This is linked to the fire element. So I like to use the image of a flame, like a little candle flame, just inside your belly, below your navel. In Tai Chi and Qigong and some other Chinese-based systems, that's linked to the Dantian, right? And others link it to personal power. So it's this center that's really linked to like centering, focus, moving forward, and also clearing out. Fire is a clearing element. If you've picked up emotions from people around you, if the last conversation is still lingering, you focus on fire in your belly
Mhm.
as a clearing and centering mechanism.
Hmm.
So that's a very good one to do between sessions, and it has to do with boundaries,
Mhm.
which I think for women can be particularly important.
So yeah, tell me a bit more because it's intriguing.
Yeah.
So is the navel like second chakra or
It's
third?
actually I'm working with it as the third. So the second is in our womb space. The third is sometimes shown higher at the solar plexus. And really that whole kind of digestive area, you might say, is the third chakra area. And I prefer to have people focus on the bottom part of that chakra as opposed to the top for this particular thing, boundaries.
Okay. So that
Yeah.
is very intriguing. I'm having so many questions, and I'm
Yeah,
sure our
yeah,
audience would have all these questions coming up in their mind too. So can you just kind of name all the chakras first? So the
yeah.
first one is the, what is it called?
Root chakra.
Root chakra. And the
Yeah.
second one?
Sacral chakra in your womb space.
Okay. And the
Yeah.
third one is the navel.
I call it navel. Some people do solar plexus. It's the same thing. It's
Okay.
more a matter of you focus on the bottom or the top of that range.
Okay. All right. So root chakra,
Sacral
sacral chakra, solar
or
or
navel.
navel.
Mhm.
What's the fourth one?
Heart, the
Heart.
center of the system. Mhm.
Okay. Fifth one,
Throat.
throat. Sixth.
Third eye, so the midpoint of the brow, just above the midpoint of the brow.
Okay. And the seventh.
Crown, which is associated with the rear fontanel in our head. So not the very top of your head, but a little towards the back. It's the
Here.
fontanel, yeah, one of those two fontanels that a baby, it's still open on the skull. It's that rear fontanel,
Okay.
is the crown.
Okay. All right. So those are the seven chakras. And the energy medicine concept is that there is an energy body that it consists of these seven chakras.
These seven chakras would be part of the central channel of that energy body. They are like the spine, you might say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so energy body also has hands and legs and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's basically a parallel of the whole body, but in
hmm
form of the energy.
hmm
And the main spine is the, what did you call it? The
The
center?
central channel, which runs parallel, sort of right up the center of the body.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And so we don't have time to go into all the details, but right today we are focusing on if you want to use some of these energy practices for managing your stress or breaking that stress cycle as it's building through the day. I
Mhm.
really love the exercise that you just showed or shared with us about imagining a fire, a candle or
Mhm.
something right in the space where by your navel.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you say to yourself when you're trying to do that?
Yeah, it depends what you primarily need in that moment. If you're feeling very frenetic, your mind is maybe become very scattered, which
Uh-huh.
is often what happens to me in stress. It's different for each person. Then this is this centering fire. You might actually originally visualize it as kind of blowing in the wind, and then you're
Okay.
centering it and
Okay.
saying, I am centered, I am focused, and you're pulling yourself back down into this center of your personal power, really, is what that is. For other people, boundaries are more of an issue, meaning they're empathic. They feel as if they just had an encounter with an angry or depressed person. They start feeling that emotion themselves, right?
Yeah.
And if that's your issue, you imagine the flame is actually like burning that energy off of you. It's like a
Hmm.
purifying fire, and you
Hmm.
focus on, I'm in my own energy, my own emotions. That is not mine. So these are the two quick ways that I would use that naval fire in my day.
Yeah, yeah, that's so important. And people like me in kind of caring field, when we are caring for others, not just the field, but like as parents, as caretakers, we're
Mhm,
kind of constantly trying to help other people, and many times we take on their energy. And
mhm,
so this phrase is being used a lot, but sometimes it doesn't make full sense because we don't know the whole concept. So
mhm,
what does it mean to take on other people's energy when we say that?
mhm. So you could just observe that someone is sad and you can be compassionate, right? And walk away from that conversation and feel for them, but not start feeling that energy yourself. To take it on means you actually are brought down. You start mirroring that emotion. And when it's most problematic is when you're not aware that you've done it, right? You're
Right.
sitting next to someone on the bus that you didn't even talk to, and they were angry, but you didn't know it. And you get off and you're all of a sudden irritable and you don't know why, right? We have these shifts throughout our day. And for many people, especially women, because we are more conditioned in a way to connect to other people's emotions and feel responsible for them, we can have unconscious patterns around taking those on. It often also is exacerbated if someone had a childhood in which perhaps they had an alcoholic or abusive parent, that they develop this pattern as a child of trying to
Mhm.
manage their own safety
Mhm.
or their parents. So there's all these different
Mhm.
situations that can make someone even more likely to have this pattern of taking on other people's
Yeah.
emotions.
So
Yeah.
how do you become aware of that you are taking on?
Yeah. Well, it's really about it depends how devoted someone wants to be. I mean, if someone really comes to me and they feel as if their emotions or their physical body is always going through those shifts and they don't know why, initially I am going to suggest a journal for a week or two of tracking your emotional shifts
Mm-hmm.
and what just occurred, and see if you can find links. Now, often
Mm-hmm.
there's many other links. So it's complicated because
Right.
our nutrition, right, can
Right.
impact this, our
Yeah.
sugar cycles, caffeine. But you can begin to sort of figure out to what extent maybe it's just certain people in your life, regardless of how the conversation goes, it always impacts you a certain way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating and interesting. Maybe we need to meet again and do
Sure, I'd love
another program to go in
to.
more detail. But let's kind of wrap up for our audience today.
Sure.
What would be your take-home message or best advice for
Mhm.
our audience today?
To be open to the idea of energy based practices. They're not all woo woo. There are some very mindfulness, body based practices that you can work with that could really be beneficial.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so if people want to learn more about you and your work, can they reach you?
My website is enlightenedenergetics.com. That's EN light, LIGHTENED, enlightened, and then energetics, ENERGETICS.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I invite you guys to check out some of the work Lisa has been doing, and she's been gracious to share one of gifts with us. It's called Understanding Your Feminine Energy Body. So can you tell in a sentence or two, Lisa, what would they get when they download this gift?
Yeah, this is talking about energy practices in relationship to women's different life phases: pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, and different techniques you might use to help you in those particular phases of life.
So the energy body keeps changing through these
Yes, it
phases.
does, just like the physical.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I can't wait to read that. And if you, our listeners, you want to download this gift, you can go to happyandhealthymind.com and press the button called resources, and you'll be able to download this and other resources that our guests share on our program. And if you are in US and you would like to get the link via text, please text the word joyful, JOYFUL, to the number 38470, and we'd be happy to send you the link for this resource and future programs. And so let me leave you on this note today. Every day is a new day, new opportunity to make changes, to improve yourself. Even if you make 1% change, you can keep getting better and better and better. Today, we learned some tools of how to break your daily stress cycle using some of these energy techniques that would help you break the cycle of becoming more and more stressed and anxious if you take this time to get yourself grounded, to be in the present moment. You may see that your adrenals would start functioning better, and you'll be able to prevent yourself from having the stress developing into burnout or anxiety or depression. So, what is one small change you are going to make? Are you going to start practicing this? If you're going to practice this, what time are you going to practice this? Research shows that if you identify a goal and you say, oh, I'll do it sometime, it doesn't happen. But if you identify when you're going to do it, write it down that you're going to do it, you're more likely to be able to do it. So I invite you to practice and see if it makes a difference in your ability to function at your best and feel calm and content in your life. On that note, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Until next time, Dr. Rozina. And thank you, Lissa Erickson, for joining us today.
Thank you so much and for the work you're doing.